Welcome to the Pole Nation. Lambo's Water Sports featuring Big Brother. Featuring Silent Sports Network. All right. Well, this was a shocking thing for Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We both thought that Colorado was gonna not come back, but I mean be the teenagers you're supposed to beat, and that technically did not happen um, Friday night. So I don't know what Colorado was doing. They lost and they were up 29-0 at halftime. And it's the same thing where somebody's up 29-0, you think the game's over, and then, Shador got comfortable and wanted to post his merch on halftime. And then I guess Stanford somewhat saw that. It's a little bit of motivation. Now, I know you said Stanford is 1-4, and they have a new head coach and Troy Taylor. I think who went to. I think he was a former Sacramento State head coach and whatnot. He's trying to rebuild that program after the David Shaw era. But even though they're 1-4, 1-4 teams can get very desperate, and they're not going to give up. Obviously, they're better than they thought they were. They could be maybe one of the. I wouldn't say they're the best 1-4 team, but I mean, if you beat Colorado down 29-0, I mean, you have something up your sleeve. So, yeah, what is wrong with Colorado? And you might be right because you said they're gonna go maybe 7-5 and 6-6, and I may you may have put some shit in my beer on Saturday. I mean, by the way, the beer was great. I'm not saying you drugged me, but I guess you when you gave me the beer, I guess you just told me something for weeks that I didn't pay attention. I didn't take your advice, and you said Colorado respectfully 6-6, 7-5. As of now, there are 4-3 heading into the bye week. I was watching everything. I was watching all the well off media stuff that I follow on YouTube, and Coach Prime was not happy after they blew the lead. And some guy there just reports, around, the Michael Irvins that know him that the guys not really buying in as they thought they were, and they're trying to win off talent. And you just saw what they'll happen. Now, what is your take on this game? Because I know you mentioned Travis Hunter got cooked. They let Stanford threw the ball over like crazy. They had a 300-yard receiver, and we said the past 3 weeks they gave at least 100 and maybe 40 points, including 24 points. Arizona State, but they gave 46 to a Stanford team that should be nowhere in the conversation to be talked about. What are your thoughts on this game? Has Coach Prime lost the locker room?
Well, I don't think that there's going to be a day where he loses a locker room, but I do think for this game in particular, I do blame the coaching staff just based on the play calling. They're up 29 nothing at halftime. Obviously, they get comfortable. Shador's posting merch, whatever. That's not really. I mean, like you can't do that, but that's not really like my big issue here. The second half play calling was garbage. They threw the ball a lot, and we know that like they don't really trust their running game. But Edwards and Hankinson both run for over 4 yards a carry. They're at like 4.6 and 4.3, and they get like 8 carries a game. And I get you can't trust their O line a lot, but out of their 6 second half possessions, 2 out of the 6 were turnover on downs because they were passing early. And then you look over at the other. Damn, I just lost my spot. Yeah. 3 out of the 6 were punts, and then they scored obviously that one touchdown. But I said it earlier in the year, and the comment section cooked me. I said that it is hard to be super consistent on both sides of the ball. I never said that he wasn't the most talented player in the country. I didn't say anything like that. I just said playing that many snaps on both sides, and especially in this game, coming back from an injury, it's going to be tough to be at, your 5-star level on both sides the entirety of the game. And we saw in the second half, after the offense didn't run any clock off the ball, they continued to pass. No faith in I mean, Shador was the leading rusher for the team, and he had 37 yards, and that came on one run. That 138-yard run. And that was the leading rusher of the entire team for the entirety of the game, which is absurd when you go into halftime with a 29-0 lead. Like, you need to be running the clock off. They didn't do it. Bad interception in the second overtime. It was a bad throw. It was bad blocking by the O-line, and it was a bad effort, I thought, by I think it was Travis Hunter in the end zone as the receiver. But like it was a bad play. Lost the game. Alec Manor was the Stanford receiver. 13 receptions, 294, 3 touchdowns. All of that came in the second half. And then Ashton Daniels, their QB, he threw 60% for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. So, like they had the game won. I think play calling really lost them this one.
Well, it's just I don't know what to say for Colorado. Now they play UCLA, I think, after this bye week. So, excuse me. Until they show me confidence that they can win, I'm not betting against Prime like, oh, they suck, I'm a hater. I'm not going to pick them until, they tighten up because they almost lost to Arizona State. They lost to a sorry Stanford team. Their defense has got awful, which we already knew about that. But you can't depend on Travis Hunter to do everything, and then once he misses for 3 games, he gets cooked. Like, I don't understand. I think, Shiloh is not playing up to the level, and I get it. It's a rebuilding process, but it gets to a point where these kids are actually not accountable. He mentioned that I think after the Stanford game. They had all the coaches talk about, accountability and stuff like that. And I feel like, these players are really taking this football season for granted, and it's just not the case. You can't take it for granted. Go ahead on that one. I'm talking about like – go ahead.
I've heard it. I hear the noise and stuff. I just – I get it. It's a story or whatever, but we can't take away that this is still – and I'm the one that's been harsh on Colorado all year. We can't take away from the fact that they have the leading passer in the country in Shador. And, they do have Xavier Weaver as, one of the leading receivers in the league, as well as Jimmy Horn playing very well too. So the offense is clicking. When it comes to the taking it for granted stuff, I feel like if you go to almost any locker room in America at the D1 level, you can find examples of that. I just think it's being amplified because it is Dion. So if every program had the same magnifying glass on certain kids in the program that aren't, taking everything for what it is and they're taking stuff for granted, I feel like a lot of other coaches would be under the same type of scrutiny. And just because it is Dion, it's got more of an attention. And so it's more of a conversation like, oh, these guys are taking it for granted and stuff. Whereas, maybe it's just, young adults like 19, 18, 20-year-olds being 20-year-olds,
Well, I'm not talking about taking for granted as winning, but I'm just talking about it in general because, like I said, not every player is on scholarship. Only some of the guys are on scholarship. Not everybody's on scholarship. So I was talking about from a scholarship perspective where, we was talking about, the rent and stuff like that. Just the outside things, not just football. But, I mean, I get what you're saying. But, like I said, I'm going to say that you're right. I don't think you were harsh on Colorado. We just didn't see enough of it yet. I hyped it up a little bit too much, but I'm not a Coach Prime hater. I just hyped it up a little bit too much, and there was holes in there that I didn't. I knew the holes was there. There was holes in there that I really ignored or didn't pay attention to. So all the haters out there, he was right about Colorado. I don't think he was harsh. I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of people that are harsh, but you have to speak facts. Colorado is who we thought they were. They're going to be good next year, but they're just not ready. So, I mean, we'll see how they do for the next 8, what's the next 5 games. They got UCLA. They still got to play Utah and all this stuff. But, man, I was right about this game. USC is overrated. What happened to Caleb Williams, the Heisman? We raved about Caleb Williams. He won the Heisman. We consider the number 1 quarterback. I would put him in number 1 quarterback after what he did against Notre Dame. He wants to paint his nails, and I just don't buy that stuff. The painting your nails is a little little weird unless you're with your girlfriend. That's fine with me. But I don't believe in painting nails and throwing that ball. That Notre Dame defense is something special. We already knew about that. But when you hold USC, maybe on one top 5 offenses in the college football to 20 points, whoo! Now, before I give Notre Dame credit, I'm going to criticize Lincoln Riley because he's doing the same thing he did in Oklahoma. Focusing on just offense and your defense and special teams is hella garbage. It's so garbage to the point where you brought in your defensive coordinator that was with you at Oklahoma to coach the defense at USC, and it's goddamn awful. I don't know what's going on with that. That type of formula is not going to win you a national championship. You see what you did when you had Kyler Murray, when you made a college football playoff, you didn't have no defense. You won't go beat Alabama. I mean, it's the same thing every year for Lincoln Riley. He has talent. We get it. The offense is great. They have guys. Where's the defense and the special teams? So when you need defense and special teams on a road game against Notre Dame, you just can't get the job done. And I'm just very disappointed in that. Now, I said we were going to win, far as being a second fan of Notre Dame besides Virginia Tech, but I did not expect an ass whooping. Excuse me. I'm sick. I did not expect an ass whooping, but we whooped that ass. I did not expect that. We threw the ball. All right. Chris Tyree got a 46-yard touchdown pass. I mean, my God. We got a 99-yard return on special teams. We wanted all 3 phases of the game, which we should have done against Louisville. By the way, Louisville lost the pick, which we'll talk about that later. What are your thoughts? And is USC playoff hopes over? Because they do play Utah, I think, this upcoming week. So do you think USC playoff hope is over? Because last year they lost to Utah twice. Could they lose to Utah again? And you say you're going to keep picking Utah until, they lose.
Well, they did lose when I picked them. So that train.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot.
Paused until I evaluate a little more. Yeah, I think I mean, it's going to take some big things to move in front of them. Just because when you look ahead of them at I mean, you've got obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 didn't change this week. But Florida State has a couple of games where you could see them possibly losing. Michigan and Ohio State obviously play each other, and Ohio State has the Penn State game as well. So for these guys up front, like I see a little bit of movement, but not a whole lot. I mean, Oregon played Washington so well. I know we'll get into that later, but they played them so well that they only dropped 1 spot, So I just think for them to be able to sneak from 18 back up to 4 to get into the college football playoff, I think so much stuff would have to happen in front of them for that to even be a thought. And I don't know if there's enough time unless they completely win out and then the top 10 teams all lose 2 games,
Yeah, that is a tough one. I just think that when it comes to USC, Caleb Williams, he's good, but I don't think he's as good as he said he was, especially with your QBR was a 55 against Notre Dame defense. But he made mistakes that we hadn't seen him do, which was very surprising to me. I thought he would, pick some holes in our defense, and I'm just looking at him like, where's the Heisman Trophy winner? Where's that guy what he did against, Colorado, even though they got a bad defense? He got 6 touchdowns. We held him to 1 and 3 picks. And I'm like, well, I know it's good, but I'm like, you got to be fortunate. You're down 24-3. You already had 3 turnovers in the first half. So there's some concerns with USC. I know they're 6-1, and all California fans, USC fans would ignore the fact that, y'all undefeated. Y'all just going to ignore the weaknesses. Damn well you ain't had a defense since Lincoln Riley has arrived. I understand that y'all are back because y'all had been back since the Matt Liner days and all this other stuff. But you got to realize your defense is just completely ass. It never was good. You're trying to win the national championship based off offense, and I keep saying the same thing he did at Oklahoma. trying to think Spencer Rattler can go over the hump and Caleb Williams took over the starting job, and you just don't have a defense. You don't have a defense to stop these type of teams. Go ahead.
So for this game in particular, like I agree with everything you're saying, but for this game in particular, their defense, I understand the score is pretty lopsided, but the defense allowed 250 yards total between passing and rushing. So it's not like y'all's offense was just marching the field and rolling over them. Their offense was fucking over their defense. Like that is the harshest way to say it, because that is literally like they were just setting them up in the worst way to have any sort of success, because it was just short field after short field. I mean, 5 total turnovers from the USC offense. Caleb Williams on offense, he had under 200 passing yards. This was his first 3-interception game of his collegiate career, I'm sure, of his life. I mean, I'm sure, just always been great. And, they had 100 combined rushing yards. So it's not like, like the defense has been the issue, and I agree with everything you're saying there. But in this game in particular, their offense did nothing to help the defense at all. And they allowed literally 250 combined yards. So like this game, I think, was a little weird, but I agree with what you're saying.
Well, 250 yards. That's great. That's great. But the big plays, with special teams, 99-yard touchdown return, the 46-yarder to Chris Tyree. I get the stats for Notre Dame don't look all that great, but they did what they were supposed to do, and they won on defensive end. They did what they could on offense to, expose a little bit of USC, but we see their defense early in the year. Arizona 41 points. Arizona is probably the best 4-3 team in the nation. Colorado 41 points. We see them give up points, but you have a great point. Next episode of Never Sport of Sports. Your second favorite team in UNC is 6-0, so is Florida State. Now, who possibly wins that ACC conference? And both teams keep winning. We'll look at their schedules, but both teams keep winning. There's a possible chance we get a Florida State UNC, ACC championship game, man. And I might have seen that game because ACC championship games in North Carolina, so it's not that far. But both of these teams are great. They're both 6-0. Florida State 6-0 for the first time since 2015. Of course, we know UNC is 6-0. They were undefeated last year. We'll just see, if they don't go to 9-0 like last year and then drop 4 games, and is Florida State going to take advantage of their schedule going forward? We'll talk about that next in Lambo Sports. We will catch you later for more college football. Peace and adios.